Good morning, everyone. This has been a little bit since I've done a Squashing Jesus, so I'm super excited to be here with you all today. And this afternoon, we have Miss Linda Thomas. And Linda, I met at a spiritual boot camp. We met, and it was love at first sight.
Yes,
Her
it
and
was.
her husband John. She is married to her husband John since 2006, and she has two grown girls. And she does a little bit of real estate maybe on the side. She has her license. I don't know if she does it on the side, but she sure has helped me a lot with technology. I can tell you she does that well. But Linda, how are you today?
I'm doing excellent. I'm traveling with my husband today, so I'm really excited to be here. Got my blurred background for the hotel room and just get to spend some time with my Linda May.
I call Linda Linda Lee because Linda May and Linda Lee is like a country song.
It is. We are a perfect pair.
So Linda, tell us about yourself. How did you come to know Jesus, and what's your story?
What is my story? Okay, well, we'll keep it short for our time. I am been married to my husband since 2006. So I met Jesus about 3 months before I met my husband. So I grew up in Vegas, and long story, can maybe it's something for another time, but we through lots of ups and downs, and my first marriage lasted for 8 years, and I got my beautiful daughter Cheyenne out of it, and she is my youngest. And then I met my husband a few years after that. So my first daughter, Alexis, she is, I had her when I was 16, and I'm her birth mom, and she is my birth daughter. So I gave her up for an open adoption at 16, and her and I are very close, and she lives in Helena, Montana, and she's quite the joy of my life. So.
Well, I love that. I was adopted. I don't know if a lot of people know. I mean, I think people that maybe have known me for a long time know that I was adopted. But I was adopted when I was 6, and it was not an open adoption. However, I knew my birth mother because I was 6, and my parents knew her. So it was kind of an open, I guess, adoption. But I don't think there was anything written actually on my birth certificate now that I think about it. But I think that is such a gift to be able to put a child up for adoption if you're not ready. And I really wanted to have Linda Lee come and tell a little bit of her story, because we're in the middle of the Supreme Court issue, Roe versus Wade, and there's so much uproar and ruckus going on with that. I want to tell our stories. I mean, I don't have to tell my story because Linda Lee's my guest today, but I want to give people such a ray of hope, because abortion, in my opinion, it's just such a sad way to get to end a life. I can't imagine. But adoption, oh my goodness. I mean, I know family who've done adoption, and it's such a blessing to those that have been adopted. I mean, my mother rescued me. I felt like a Moses. So, and I know your daughter, I'm sure, feels the same.
How do you feel like your life changed when you got adopted?
It really brings me to tears, because my mother was a single mother. She'd already let my older sister, go to her sister. And so I was playing in the back room of a laundromat, because my mother worked as a laundromat, but she was an alcoholic, and we lived in a really rough side of town. And I just feel like my life, I may have never known Jesus. She did not practice faith. After I was adopted, my dad, who did some ministry, he was a minister for a little while, he preached a sermon on heaven and hell, and I was so moved by that I asked them if they would go and tell her about Jesus, and we did. They took me with me, and I remember sitting outside of the table talking to her about the Lord. So I don't know whatever happened, with that, but that was the only thing I really felt, even after older, when I went back to see her, she was still in that place. She was not, she was still drinking, and it would have been a very rough life. I mean, God absolutely changed my life with giving me the parents he did. My mom and I, my birth mother, or my adopted mother and I couldn't be any closer to her. I mean, her and my dad rescued me.
And did they couldn't have children, or why were they looking at adoption?
Well, my dad had had an accident in the Navy that left him sterile. And so they had a lot of foster children. I think I was like number 10, maybe.
Wow.
And because when I got with them, they had two little ones, Misty and Frankie, that were there. They were fostering.
Mhm.
And then they left, and different ones came and went. And then I came up for adoption at 9. I think it was 3 years later that we actually went through the adoption. I was placed with them at 6.
Wow.
And then then my brother came along, and he was adopted when I was 9 as well. He's not my he's not my genetic brother, but he was another from another family. So I have my brother Danny and I. But
Wow.
the beautiful thing is that my mother worked as a candy striper at the hospital where I was born, and I was there for 30 days. I was a premature baby, and she remembers my mother coming back and forth.
Oh, wow.
And from what I understand, she got the like the feeling from the Lord that one of those babies would be hers. And
Oh.
she didn't even know, because she wasn't married at the time, and she didn't know she wouldn't have children.
Mhm.
But that's why I feel like I was like a little Moses. God saved me for her.
Yes.
It's just amazing. It's just amazing how God orchestrates our lives. And I don't know why, or, I know not everybody's stories go like that in the foster care system, but I am forever grateful. I mean, on a daily basis, I'm thankful to, God being so merciful, because he gave me great parents.
Oh,
So
that's so
anyway.
beautiful. You can look back and you can just see the places in your life where he was there even before you knew him, just
Mhm.
standing next to you, taking care of you, and just making sure you got that.
And really the last 2 years, he's really even shown me that in different, like, I can't really say visions, but maybe a little bit of, like, he's taken me back and shown me I was right there with you. And that just melts my soul. It's just like, oh my gosh, Lord Jesus, you're so good.
Yes. Yeah, I can see that in my life looking back. Having my mom's been married 7 times. And so we moved a lot when I was young, and ended up growing up most of my life in Las Vegas from like 10 to 21. So those important years, and just had a lot of things, drug rehab by 13, and in and out of juvie, and running away and living in different places. And so by the time I found out I was pregnant, with Alexis, my older sister, had just had her second child. She's 4 years older than me. And so I got to see kind of what it looks like to have not the greatest life with young kids, and to be a young person. And I really feel like she was a pivotal point, because she took me to the Crisis Pregnancy Center, and it was a Christian pregnancy center where you could get a free test, but you had to watch a 28-minute video on abortion. And then they'll give you a free test. So you pee in a cup, and then you watch the video, and they come back, and then they talk to you, and they give you brochures with pictures. And this is, 30 years ago, so 31 years ago. So it was real. They showed you what really happens in an abortion, what really happens to the children, what really happens to the babies after, And so I walked into that place thinking, well, if I'm pregnant, of course I would have an abortion. I'm 16 years old, and I have I'm living on a friend, living on a friend's couch, so watching those videos changed my life. And I walked out, and I was like, well, I walked in with 3 options, and I walked out with 2. And it was like, there's no way I could do this. And I just, I love those places, because you don't know the truth. The world doesn't tell you the truth about abortion. It tells you it's a blob, it's nothing, it's this, it's not true. And so being educated was what did it. And so I adoption wasn't something I knew anything about. So I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. I guess I'm going to keep the baby. And so turns out my, 16 going to work full time and being pregnant is not easy in Vegas in the summer. And so it was a rough time. And, we were living on the couch of a friend's house, me and the baby's daddy, and he was adopted. And so that's what brought that in. And so we started talking about it and we looked at all the different options. I went through the phone book back when there were phone books. That's how you found out your information, back before cell phones and the internet. It was 1990. So
seems like yesterday.
I know, right. Back in the day, in the 90s. So looked in the phone book, called all the different places, and none of them had the good options. It was you keep your baby for 3 months and then somebody comes and picks it up, or it was this or that, or you never know. And I was like, I just couldn't. I didn't know the Lord. I didn't grow up saved. I didn't know anything about religion or God or anything. Didn't have a Bible. But I just knew in my heart that I could not do those things. That was just too difficult. And so then I resigned to my one last option, which was keeping the baby. And I, just didn't know what that was going to look like. Wow. And then my aunt, I was working with her at the time. She brought me an article in the back of a magazine. It was an Us magazine. And it was this little 3-4 line, tiny little article in the very back. And it said open adoption. And it was in Pleasant Hill. It was the Independent Adoption Center in Pleasant Hills, California. And I was living in Vegas. And I called them up and they gave me 100. They sent me 100 pictures and letters from families that wanted to adopt.
Wow.
And I got to pick my top 5. And then if they didn't work, I could pick 5 more and meet that difference. And that was just I didn't know that anything like that existed. And
wow.
It even goes beyond that. So I did pick the first couple that I saw was June and Rod, and they had the picture of them with their dog and in front of their beautiful house, and it was the perfect American family. He ran a construction company with his dad, and she worked at the bank, and they'd been trying for 7 years to have kids, and had lost a few, and the doctors had said you can't, if you get pregnant again, you'll die. You can't do this anymore. And so they tried in vitro and all those things. And so I would just fell in love with them right away. She was so sweet too. I called them up and talked to them, and she's like, even if you don't pick me, I want to send you some money. Are you eating? How are you doing? Do you have vitamins?
Oh my goodness.
She was like a mother. She was amazing. And it was incredible. And so we picked them. They flew us out to California to meet them, and we fell in love with them. And we ended up moving up there, actually, through a long series of events. Jody, Alexis's dad, ended up moving back to Vegas. And so I ended up moving in with them. We had an apartment originally, so I moved in with them, and I got to live with them while I was pregnant for like the last 5 months, 4 or 5 months. Wow. And so this independent adoption center, they had counseling, they had groups where I could go and talk with and sit down with all the other pregnant girls that were thinking of adoption. And so I had this support system around me. It was incredible. She took me to the dentist. She took me to the doctor. It was just, she fed me well. It was incredible. It was such a great time. And they weren't, from what I remember, they didn't know the Lord. We didn't go to church. They didn't talk about Jesus. And I didn't know Jesus was someone to talk about at the time. So that didn't seem like anything was missing. It was the perfect American family, And so when I ended up having Alexis, if I hadn't loved them so much and trusted them so much, I don't think I could have gone through with it. It was very difficult.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
But just knowing what a beautiful life she was going to have. And it was an open adoption. She always knew who I was. I got pictures and letters and video, and she always knew she was loved, so loved. And they taught her about me growing up, that she knew I loved her so much, so much. Not that I didn't love her and gave her away, the complete opposite,
Right.
Yeah, it was incredible. And so um, you just, yeah. So she is beautiful. She's 31. She lives in Montana. She, through a long series of events, she came to visit me when she was about 20, 21, 22. And ended up, at that point, I knew Jesus and was married and introduced her to Jesus. And so she gave her life to the Lord. It wasn't me, it was all Jesus. We took her to an event that actually did an altar call at the end. And she's been reading her Bible every day and just it's just so neat to see. She calls me mom, though I've only earned that right by praying for her. But I love her mom, June. She's beautiful, and we have a great relationship. And yeah, I just can't say enough about adoption.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It really is such a lovely gift. I know it's so hard on on the parents, I guess. It can be if you don't have that open adoption, like just always wondering.
I can't imagine, yeah.
But
how it would go another way.
Right. So that's just wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So if you had any advice for, mother, I guess, or anybody thinking about that, and any insight in any of it, what could you say?
Well, definitely in this day and age, there's such a double narrative about abortion and even adoption, that people don't really know the truth. If you're getting your news from the media, if you're getting your news from, other people that don't know the truth, you're just repeating things that aren't true, So I would just say, be educated. I would say, find out what your options are. Pray. I can look back and I can see God directing my path before I spoke to him, before I knew he was there, before I even knew. I can look back now, like you had said, and I see where he got me off of drugs before I got pregnant with Alexis. He got me hooked up with June and Rod. And how do you find a small little ad in the back of a newspaper in Las Vegas, Nevada for an adoption center in California in the 90s? I mean, you just don't, like, how does this happen? It's like he directed my steps all the way, and even letting me go through, because I had a choice. I mean, that's the thing with adoption. You have a choice at the end. You can change your mind. It's not, So, even up to a certain amount of time until I signed the papers, I could have gone back and taken her back. And so it's just, I would just say, pray. I would say, look for real information. And if you have a Bible or don't have a Bible, you can get a Bible online for free. You can get a Bible app. You can ask what God wants.
Anybody who wants a Bible.
Yes, I know, right? I know.
I got them.
And it's what's amazing about adoption is that God adopts us as children. He created adoption. It was his plan from the very beginning. There's no shame in adoption. It's a beautiful, beautiful picture of life, of giving life. And it says, I had this open in 1 John 12, but to those who embraced him and took hold of his name, he gave authority to become the children of God. And he just loves us so much. So if you are pregnant and you don't know what to do and you're not sure, I would just say, pray about it, get real information, and just realize that I hear people say, oh, adoption is just too hard. I can't do it. And it is hard, but it's because you love well that it's hard. It's not because you don't care. It's the love that God gives us for our children that makes it difficult, but it's very possible.
And I've heard, I think with the abortion, I don't think people hear the ramifications of abortion enough, because you carry that with you for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
You really do. I mean, I just know from other testimonies that people until God's forgiveness comes and there's that redemption,
Mhm.
you carry that all of your life, always wondering,
Absolutely.
always knowing that that's something that happened.
Yeah.
And because I feel like that's the way it's supposed to be in a way. I mean, I don't think taking a life should never be something that you just do and you walk away from,
No.
you
And
know, and
yeah.
but
I
I
have, go ahead.
at the same time there's forgiveness,
Yes.
for those that have
And
and
even I have not personally had an abortion, but I have gone with two friends, because that's what you do with your friends. You support them, right? And
right.
so I thought I was helping them. And I thought by not speaking up, by just going along with what they thought they wanted and not giving them my truth, that was being loving, and it was not. And so I can say from that experience that even being involved in those things, it does weigh on you until you can release that to the Lord, and he can give you, he takes that shame away and he gives you that forgiveness. He gives us, beauty for ashes and joy for mourning. And so, yeah, even just being involved with people that have had it, or men who have allowed, who women have had abortions and they don't know about it. There's mourning in there for them too. And they think, well, I don't have a say in it. You know what I mean? Or they think, well, whatever. Or sometimes they don't even know, and so, yeah,
Well, as long as that's
it's tough,
one of
but
the
God can.
important things on any of, like, all of this, that there is redemption. It is a story of redemption, because Jesus is just so good. He is a redeemer, and I feel like even if when people are in, I was thinking, this is like a bad analogy, but sometimes when the Lord was teaching me about money, I would want to use a credit card because I would be short on finances, and he would say to me, you know, that's that is a shortcut of my provision to my provision. Like,
Okay.
I can provide for you, but you're trusting in this instead.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of feel that way with children. When you look with your eyes, how am I going to raise this child? How am I going to provide? How am I going to give it food? How am I going to get clothes? Especially when you're in a situation where you may not even be able to provide for yourself.
Right.
But I believe that if God allowed and I believe he's the one who creates us even in the womb before we were ever born. He knows us. He will provide, even miraculously. He will provide.
Yes.
Especially when we ask and we trust him to, he will make a way where there seems to be no way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to encourage anybody with that, just to know, and there are so many, like, I know that it's there's no shame in asking for help, or asking for food or asking for clothes or whatever you need. I think Christians and people that are against abortion get a lot of flack for maybe not, well, you say, well, we can't have an abortion or whatever, but then, you're not the one that's going to be taking care of the baby forever. Well, I know there's a lot of us, in the world that would certainly come along and help when we can, or as we can, because, that's just what you do. That's what you want to do, So, and so anyway,
There's no shame in asking for help.
there's no shame in asking for help.
Right.
No.
And one of the things that we say at our church is that we're going to cast the care of how it's going to happen, and you cast that care of how onto God, and he takes care of you. He is your provision, just like you said. And so we, in our minds, we do get wrapped up in that. Well, I can't see it. I don't know what it looks like. So I can't do it. And that's just the lie of the enemy.
Well, really and truly, if you think about when you step into marriage or you step into parenthood, those two things to me are the most overwhelming things when you're in the process ever, to know, can I do this? Because really and truly, if you think about raising a child from, there is, like, that's overwhelming to me. And marriage is truly, like, when you're thinking of getting married, unless you're, so overwhelmed by your love, that's why you marry. Because I think if you sat down and rationalized, like, are we going to stay together? What are we going to do about this? You may not do it because
Right.
it's a commitment. It's a
Yeah.
big, huge commitment.
Yeah. 100%.
Why
And
once we make that commitment are we so thankful that we did? That God was
Yeah.
with you when you did put that baby for adoption. You did the very best thing ever for
Yeah.
it, and the things that happened afterwards. Just God turned that story into beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely did both of our stories.
For Ashes. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, well, I'm thankful that you came on today to give your story and to tell us about what happened with you. And to
Good to
those
hear
of you
your story.
watching, you can reach out to us if there's anything that you need, if anybody needs to be prayed for, or just anything. Just leave comments or message us. I try to look at the messages. So I just want to thank everyone for coming today, and I hope you have been inspired by this. And we hope to see you soon again. Linda, thank you
Jesus
so much
loves
for
you.
coming. Yes, thank you so much for coming.